Hi everyone, Mr. A here. Today, we're going to go over multiplication and division. So to start us off for the day, I thought I'd skip just the 2 times 2 sort of thing and jump straight up to a 3-digit number times one of the traditional numbers that we usually deal with, the numbers between 1 and 12. If you still need assistance dealing with your times tables all the way up through 12 by 12, my only real recommendation there is to print off a few copies of a multiplication table and just sort of run through it a few times. Maybe sit down and have a printout next to you if you're at home watching TV. During the commercial breaks, instead of goofing off on your phone, you can actually use that minute or two to fill in a small part of the table. Maybe try to challenge yourself, see how many you can fill in during that commercial break, and just work on it every now and then. Who knows, perhaps you'll even get to a point where you can fill out the entire table in that one single 2-minute period of time. But as for these numbers, I'm going to assume that you are already comfortable with your entire times tables up through 12 times 12. Now, for this, all we're really going to do is do each individual problem by breaking it down. So, for this one, for example, we will do 6 times 8 in that motion. We take the one number that we are starting with on the bottom, and we will multiply it by each section above it in that order. Going from right to left, we're going to multiply it by first, second, and third. So the way this problem would work is we would do 6 times 8, and that's going to give us a total of 48. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to write our 4 for our tens place right up here. We're going to carry it over, similar to how we would add or subtract, or mostly add. We're going to then take the 1 and we're going to put it down here, 48. Next, we're going to repeat that step, only this time moving to our tens place. This time doing 6 times 4, which will give us 24. We'll then take that 24 and add 4 to it, which is the number that we had carried. 24 plus 4 gives us 28, and we will do a very similar process to before. We will write our ones place at the bottom, and we will write our tens place on the number beside it. Now we do 6 times 4 once again, and that gives us 24, only this time we will add 2, because that was the number we had carried. 24 plus 2 gives us 26, and since we were at the end of that section, all we do is we write the entire number down below. Our final answer is 2,688. Give you another example. For this one, our bottom number is 2, and our 3 numbers above are 9, 5, and 2. We'll repeat the process that we had before. We will simply do 2 times 9 to get 18, carry the 1. 2 times 5 to give us 10, plus the 1 from before, gives us 11. Write our 1 and carry the other 1. 2 times 2 gives us 4, plus the additional 1 gives us a grand total of 518. Let's scroll to another problem and see if we can't find a more challenging one. Here's a few. I'm only going to go over the top row because, well, I would like you to do the bottom row on your own. In fact, go ahead and take a moment and pause the video here, so that way you can get these problems and do them on your own. Time's up. For this problem, we do 2 times 9, gives us 18. Carry the 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 gives me 5. 2 times 8 gives me 16. The answer? 1,658, or 1,658. For this one, we do 6 times 9 to give us 54. Write our 4 and carry the 5. 6 times 6, which gives us 36, plus the 5 from before gives us 41. And then 6 times 1 gives us 6, plus 4, which actually gives us 10. Meaning our final answer is 1014. And finally, this last problem is going to be 2 times 6, which is 12. 2 times 5, which is 10, plus 1, which is 11. 2 times 5 again, which is 10, plus the 1 from before, gives us once again 11, for a total of 1,112. If you'd like, go ahead and do these problems on the bottom, but I have a more challenging set of problems waiting for us. These problems are going to be a little bit more challenging. The only real difference, though, is that there are 2 numbers on the bottom instead of 1, and the process doesn't change all that much. In fact, you really just repeat that same process I had showed you a moment ago, only once to the left side and once to the right side. Let me walk you through number 1. If I have 8 times 3, I'm still going to do that, and I'll get 24. Write my 4, carry the 2. Next, I do 8 times 8, which is going to give me 64. 64 plus that 2 from before gives me 66. Carry my 6. 8 times 4 gives me 32. Plus 6 gives me 38. The process is extremely similar except for this one next piece. Now, most of your teachers in the 5th grade and 4th grade, and possibly even before then, will have told you that you simply move down and place a placeholder 0. What I notice is that a lot of my students don't actually know why you place that placeholder 0, and I actually have 2 additional steps to show them as well. My 3 steps at this point consist of the following. I first get rid of the 2 numbers that I had carried before. I remove everything I've carried up to this point. I also put a mark over the number that I am done multiplying. This helps me to not accidentally start multiplying that number again. We are done with it. We no longer need it. Also, the reason we're putting a placeholder value right here is because, well, we're done with the ones place. We are no longer multiplying the number that starts in that place. Therefore, rather than simply leaving it blank, although you could leave it blank and just make a mental note to move over, it's a lot easier to put 0, a digit without value, some would claim, and you would put it right there just to hold your place, just to make sure that you don't accidentally put something there that doesn't belong. So at this point, we more or less do what we've already done, except with the 4. We start by doing 4 times 3, that's still the first number you multiply, and that gives us 12. You write the 2 and carry your 1, and hopefully now you can see why I told you to scratch out that 2. Had I not scratched it out, it might be a little hard to see what I'm supposed to do here. But because I've marked it out, I can plainly see that the only number I need to worry about that I've carried over is that 1. I continue on by doing 4 times 8, which gives me 32, plus 1, which is 33. Write my 3 and carry my other 3. If my board didn't suddenly start lagging and start drawing lines instead. Fixed it. We write our 3 and carry the other 3. And then we do 4 times 4, which gives me 16, plus the 3 from before, which gives me 19. I write my 19 as I normally would, and rather than have my answer be 2 separate numbers, we're going to combine them via addition. So we'll go ahead and add them up. 4 plus 0, 6 plus 2, 8 plus 3, 9 plus 3 plus 1, and 1 plus 1 is not 1. Your final answer should have been 23,184. If you'd like, you can pause the video here and try a few on your own, or wait a moment for me to do number 2 before continuing. Alright, if you were going to pause it, you would have by now. For number 2, we're going to do 5 times 2, gives me 10, carry the 1. 5 times 2 again gives me 10, with the 1 we have 11. Next, we do 5 times 8 to give me 40, plus 1 is 41. We will then cross out the things that we had used, and put our placeholder value. Next, we do 4 times 2, which is 8. 4 times 2 again, which is 8 as well. And 4 times 8, which is 32. We add those 2 rows up to give us an answer of 36,990. Go ahead and pause here so that I don't give away the answer to number 3. Okay. There's also a shortcut you could take here. If I do 8 times 7, I'm going to get 56. So I write 56. 8 times 8 gives me 64, plus the 5 from before gives me 69. Carry the 6. 8 times 3 gives me 24, plus 6, which is 30. Now at this point, you can actually go ahead and take a shortcut. See, once you follow those 3 steps, and remember your placeholder, that is still important, you're just going to be doing the same thing. So you should be able to figure out that if you do 8 times 7, 8 times 8, and 8 times 3, you'll get the same set of numbers. Go ahead and write those numbers in after your placeholder value. You write your 6, your 9, your 0, and your 3. You don't actually have to solve that same set of problems again. It's going to give you the same result. Albert Einstein, I think it was, had said that insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. If you multiply the same number by 8, you're still just multiplying by 8. That number is not going to change in value. When you add 6 and 0, 6 and 9, 9, 0, and 1, 3, 1, and 0, and 3, you come out with 34,056. And that's really all I wanted to show you as far as multiplication. If you would like, feel free to work on some of these problems that I'm leaving here on the board. Don't worry about me showing you how to do this anymore. You have all the resources you need, combined with this video and the calculator to check your work. But I also want to take a moment to go over division, because that's also an area of weakness that I've been noticing over the years.